There are stories that do not begin with light. They begin with a scream. And Janis Joplin's story is one of them. A story made not just of music, but of wounds, brilliance, rebellion, and the dangerous freedom of a woman who refused to sing softly. Today, I am not here to repeat what documentaries say. I am here to open the locked doors of her life, the ones filled with letters, hidden recordings, rumors from backstage, and the kind of truth that trembles when you finally face it. Because almost everything people think they know about Janis is incomplete. There are tapes that were never released, diaries that surfaced only after her death, and even a radio prediction made days before she was gone. And the closer I get to her story, the more I realize this: Janis was not simply a singer. She was a force of nature, a revolution holding a microphone. When I study Janis Joplin, I never begin with the music. I begin with the sensation, that electric tension that rises right before a storm breaks. Janis carried that storm inside her. She was the raw pulse of the 1960s, the voice of a free woman in an era that did not know what to do with women like her. She was brilliant, strategic, emotionally volcanic, and far more intelligent than her public image ever suggested. Even the wildness people associate with her was crafted, shaped by a woman who knew exactly how she wanted the world to feel her presence. But before she became the woman who set stages on fire, she was a girl who felt invisible. Janis was born in Port Arthur, Texas in 1943, a conservative and suffocating place for anyone who did not fit the mold. Something cruel and deeply real happened to her there. She was voted the ugliest man in school in a school-wide prank. That humiliation carved itself into her. Years later, she would say that when she shouted on stage, she was not singing. She was erasing that memory. Few people know that Janis had a high IQ and was passionate about painting before music. She filled sketchbooks with sad female faces, as if she were trying to understand the expression she would one day wear. She was expelled twice from the school choir for singing too loud. Everything in her was too intense before she even knew what to do with that intensity. Her real awakening came when she discovered the blues. Janis did not start with rock. She started with worn-out vinyl recordings of Bessie Smith, Odetta, and Maureen. She hunted for damaged records because she believed emotion lived in imperfections. At 17, she ran away from home to New Orleans to understand the soul of the blues. She spent nights in clubs filled with black musicians, studying their phrasing, their pain, their freedom. For a white girl in the 1950s South, this was more than rebellion. It was a spiritual crossing. But her first attempt at adulthood nearly destroyed her. In 1965, long before fame, Janis returned home weighing barely 40 kilos. Friends sent her back to Texas with a bus ticket and a letter begging her parents to save her. Medical notes from that period confirmed she was close to organ failure. She tried to rebuild her life, even worked briefly as a typist. But how does someone like Janis fold herself into a small life she could not? So she went back to San Francisco and everything began to change. When she auditioned for Big Brother and the holding company, guitarist Sam Andrews said that the moment she opened her mouth, the band forgot what they were playing. Yet the early performances were harsh. People laughed at her appearance, whispered about her clothes. But the moment she sang, the room froze. This was also when she began drinking before shows. People thought it was rebellion. The truth was simpler and sadder. She had severe social anxiety and said she needed alcohol to calm the shaking. Then came Monterey Pop Festival in 1967. If Woodstock made legends, Monterey created them. Janis performed twice because the first performance stunned the crew so much that they demanded cameras be rolling for a second. Her voice at Monterey was not just powerful. It was an announcement that a woman had arrived to claim a space that had never been given to her. Behind the scenes, the industry did not know what to do with her. Janis was disciplined, meticulous, almost perfectionist. While other musicians wandered in and out of studios, Janis reviewed takes, wrote letters to producers, planned set lists, studied her tonal shifts. But she was also uncontrollable in one sense. She refused to sing without emotion. She broke rules intentionally. In Cry Baby, she pushed her voice until it cracked because she believed cracks were honest. Then came Woodstock. Most people do not know that Janis almost missed her own performance. She had a panic attack hours before, but she insisted on performing sober, something extremely rare for her. When she stepped onto the stage, she was trembling, and still she sang as if electricity were rising through her bones. After the show, she nearly collapsed backstage. Something important happened after Woodstock, something rarely discussed. Janis began to mature artistically. She wrote differently, explored new arrangements, experimented with depth and restraint. She had cut ties that hurt her. She had fallen in love. For the first time, she imagined a real future for herself. Her final weeks were not tragic. They were astonishingly productive. She was recording Pearl, the work that would define her. She recorded Mercedes-Benz in a single playful take, laughing between verses. And the last sound she ever recorded was not a note. It was a laugh, bright and warm. People like to turn her life into tragedy. But the truth is more complex. Janis was on the edge of a rebirth. She was writing better than ever, singing with clarity and fire, loving with a hope she had nearly forgotten. When I think of Janis Joplin today, I do not see destruction. I see the cost of feeling deeply in a world that prefers women to feel quietly. I see a girl humiliated in school who grew into a woman powerful enough to tear her own wounds open and turn them into songs that still burn after decades. She did not want perfection. She wanted truth, and truth is what survives time. Janis did not sing to impress. She sang to stay alive. That is why she remains incomparable. That is why her voice vibrates inside anyone who ever felt too much for the world. Janis Joplin was not just a singer in my childhood. She was a force that entered my life before I even understood what a voice could do to a person. When I was a preteen, we used to play karaoke in the living room, pretending to be her. It was always chaotic, always loud, always a little out of tune, but always honest. I remember trying to imitate the way she threw her whole body into a note, the way she seemed to break and bloom at the same time. None of us knew anything about technique, but we understood instinctively that Janis was not about singing beautifully. She was about singing truthfully. For my generation, especially for girls who were still learning what it meant to exist in the world, Janis represented a kind of freedom we couldn't name yet. We didn't have the right words for intensity or vulnerability or emotional courage, but we felt all of that in her voice. She was a woman who didn't apologize for feeling too much, for being too loud, too passionate, too alive. And at an age when the world starts telling girls to shrink, to be quiet, to be pleasant, Janis showed us another possibility. I remember holding that toy microphone and trying to scream the way she did, trying to put my whole soul into the sound. It felt like a rebellion, even though I didn't know what I was rebelling against. Maybe it was the fear of growing up. Maybe it was the fear of becoming small. But in those moments with Janis blasting through the speakers, I felt powerful in a way I didn't feel anywhere else. She taught me something before I even had language for it, that a woman's voice is not meant to be pretty. It is meant to be real, honest, raw, and sometimes loud enough to shake the world. For me and for so many girls of that preteen generation, Janis was permission. Permission to exist without holding back. Permission to feel deeply without shame. Permission to be a storm in a world that wanted us to be drizzle. Growing up listening to her music was like growing up with a rebellious older sister who had already broken all the rules and whispered in her own rude way that we could break them too. And even today, when I hear her voice, I'm transported back to that living room. That toy microphone, that fearless version of myself who learned to open her lungs, her chest, her heart, because Janis had shown her how. If this story moved you, subscribe to Woman Bioart, where we showcase women who shaped the world by daring to fully exist. And in the next episode, I'll bring you another powerful and unforgettable biography.